going to be working with variables as bases and exponents, and we're going to be learning how to multiply and divide variables with exponents. So today we're going to focus on multiplying. Apply exponent properties involving products, meaning multiplying. The first type of problem that you might see might look like this. X squared times x cubed. You can only multiply when you have the same base. The same base is x here. So we're going to work with these exponents. I'm going to break this down and show you the long way, and then I'm going to talk about the shortcut. This tells me that I have two x's, and they're being multiplied. The other term has three x's, and they're being multiplied. So when we multiply everything together, you can see that we have 5 total x's. So our answer would be x to the 5th power. What we just performed here is the product of powers property. Product of powers property. And that says to multiply powers having the same base, to multiply powers with the same base, you're going to add the exponents. Okay, so instead of breaking each of these down, if you see that two terms have the same base and they're being multiplied, you add their exponents. Let's try another. Let's say we have 2 to the 4th times 2 to the 6th. Because they have the same base, we're going to add their exponents. You get 2 to the 10th. This works with variables. Let's say we have t to the 7th times t squared. To multiply variables with the same base, you add their exponents. This also works with negative bases. Let's say we have negative 1 to the 6th power times negative 1 to the 3rd power. You have the same bases, so you add their exponents. 6 plus 3 is 9. Now notice with this problem, there is a set of parentheses and there's a negative inside. It is important that you keep these parentheses. Do not drop the parentheses. You want to have them around the negative 1. Okay, I want you to try 10 squared times 10, s to the 10th times s to the 5th times s squared. And then I also want you to try, I have 2 more problems. Let me move this over. I have 2 more problems for you. I want you to try, I don't know, just this is the last one. My bad. That's for the next one. One more problem. X squared times y. I really want you to think about this last problem if you can perform multiplication here. Okay. Now we're going to learn a new rule. Our problem looks like this. We have x squared, and that whole thing is cubed. Okay, again, I'm going to show you the long way, break it down, and then I'll show you the shortcut. This cube tells us that there are 3 of these. X squared times x squared times x squared. And we can break it down even further. This says x times x. The middle one says x times x. Oops, this should be squared. And the last one says x times x. So again, this tells us that there are 3 of these. And then I broke each one of these down. How many x's are there in total? Well, there are 6 x's. Okay. What we just did is the power of a power property. Power of a power property. Maybe you can see what the shortcut is before I say it. To find the power of a power, multiply the exponents. breaking it down like I did, I can see that I have a power to a power, and the shortcut tells us to multiply. We get x to the 6th power. Again, notice that the base stays the same. So let's try a couple of these. Let's try 5 cubed, and that whole thing is to the 4th power. Well, when you have a power to power, you multiply. So 3 times 4 is 12. 5 to the 12th power. Let's say we have negative 3 cubed, and that whole thing is squared. Well, again, our base stays the same. Power to power, we multiply. Negative 3 to the 6th power. Look at our base this time. This time our base is x plus 1, and that's to the 4th power. And that's all to the 8th power. Okay? We can perform this. This is our base. And a power to a power, we multiply. 4 times 8 is 32. Okay, I want you to try 3 of these. Try y to the 6th cubed, negative 4 squared to the 10th power, and then a plus 5 cubed. That whole thing is cubed as well. Okay, one more rule. Let's say you have a quantity or a term, x, y, and that term is cubed. Okay, this tells us that there are 3 of these. So x times y, and x times y. Our answer has 3 x's and 3 y's. So think about what the shortcut to this would be if we got rid of this. This is called the power of a product property. Power of a product property. And it says, to find the power of a product, find the power of each factor and multiply. Find the power of each factor and multiply. Okay, so instead of breaking it down, you're going to take this cubed and distribute it to both factors. Let's try a couple of those. Let's try 2 times 5 cubed. This tells us to distribute the 3 to both terms. So we're going to have 2 cubed times 5 cubed. Now that's all they want. All the farther they want us to go on that one. Let's try another one. 5xy squared. That square needs to be distributed to every factor on the inside. This is a factor, this is a factor, this is a factor. So we get 5 squared, x squared, y squared. When you get to this point, they're going to want you to actually solve further. We can't solve this farther, we can't solve this further, but this 5 squared, we know what 5 squared is. That's 25. Okay. We have 2 more we're going to try together. Let's try negative 4st. That quantity is to the 4th power. Now, when we're doing this chapter, you're going to have to be very specific, and you're going to have to know when to use parentheses. This is an example of when you're going to need parentheses. This quantity, this factor, I should say, is a negative. And both of these have to have this exponent. So I'm going to use parentheses to show that. Okay, so then this says negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4 1 on the outside. This is negative 1 times 3 squared. Well, 3 squared is 9. So negative 1 times 9 is a negative 9z squared. Okay. I have 4 for you to try. Try 3 times 4, that quantity squared. 2st. Did I do that one already? No, I did not. 2st. That quantity is to the 4th power. Negative 2ab. That whole quantity is cubed. And this next one has a negative on the outside. Negative, and there's another negative on the inside. Negative 5x cubed. All right, make sure you have solved